And both Glenn and I speak to individuals who are looking at a different career path, for whom the job market is no longer scratching that itch, and they definitely don't feel that it is strong.
Hello again, and welcome to Your Career Revolution presented by the Entrepreneur Source. My name is Mike Toper, and today we are talking about jobs, the job market. Where was it? Where is it? Where is it going? I'm sure this is going to be of interest to quite a few people listening out there, and we've got one of the best career experts in the country joining us, and Glenn Scott. We're going to bring him in just a moment, but first, I'd like to introduce my co-host. She is the Chief of Brand Ideology for TES, the Entrepreneur Source, Tamara Loring. Tamara, it's summertime. Everything's heating up, including the job market. How you feeling today?
Loving it and love the opportunity. It's always a good day when we can talk to people about reimagining and reclaiming the life of their dreams. And great topic, right? The job market. How is it doing for them, and how they feeling about it in this hot, hot, hot month of June?
Hopefully, by the time this is released, the heat dome will be over there on the West Coast. But we're going to bring in our expert here, Glenn Scott. He is the CEO of Executive Career Partners. They help high-level employees and C-suite level people in their employment search there. Glenn, welcome in. Is that basically right? Could you explain a little bit about what you do?
Sure, Mike. Yeah. So when people ask me that in social environment, what do you do? I usually answer that at my company, we help people to find jobs. And they would typically say, "Oh, so you're a headhunter, recruiter." No, just the opposite. We help people find jobs. They help companies find people. So we market people, essentially, help people with their career transitions at mid to senior level for the most part, but all different types, all different industries.
And for the people reading the description here or just listening on the audio platform, Glenn's been at this for well into 3 decades at this point. So again, like I said, one of the premier experts when it comes to job seeking and employment opportunities. So let's dive right into it. And T, I'm going to start with you here. As far as the current job market and kind of what's been going on and what we're looking at as we're into 2024 right now.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for asking. I mean, just as we were hopping onto this podcast, Glenn was talking about the fact that, the latest numbers have come out. And as we've been looking, at the job market and the statistics this year, it would appear that, the job market is strong, right? Unemployment rate remains low in comparison. I think, up until now, it was below 4% for the 27th straight month. Was that what you were seeing this morning too, Glenn, when you were looking at it, or did it jump just a little bit higher?
Oh, that's right. I think it went from 3.9 to 4 or something like that, but unemployment statistics are low.
Yeah, so people would think, well, if the job market is strong, what is the problem? And both Glenn and I speak to individuals who are looking at a different career path, for whom the job market is no longer scratching that itch, and they definitely don't feel that it is strong, right? If you look at the news, it's inundated with stories of people being right-sized, capsized, downsized, layoff, it doesn't matter what you call it, so even if unemployment seems low, for those people who were working for, just to name a few, Tesla, right, got laid off 10% of their workforce. Indeed, laid off 8% of their workforce. McKinsey, Neutrogena, Spirit Airlines, I mean, the list goes on and on. So for those people, who were affected by that, it doesn't matter that unemployment seems so low, right? Or that, when the Bureau of Labor Statistics talks about the fact that jobs were increased. I think on average, basically every month they have added, they say that 242,000 jobs were added. This last month, I think it went down. It's still positive, right? 175,000. But people who are in the job market looking for a job says, it's not such a rosy picture out there. it's actually pretty depressing. And we can talk a little bit about how today's job market is different than it used to be in the past, and how long it takes to find a new job. But before we go there, Glenn, why don't you comment on some of the things that I've just spoken about?
So this morning, the non-farm payroll numbers came out, and it was actually exceeding expectations at 220 or 240,000 over, as opposed to the 175 they were expecting. But the vast majority of those would be much lower level uh, situations than what most of our clients would be interested in. So that top 5 to 10 percentile, when you start getting into the 100 to 200K on up level, it's its own little world. Um, a lot of jobs in hospitality and healthcare, other, occupations that are in the maybe up to 100K range, seeing more of those. But at the top end, it just hasn't gotten any easier. For a lot of people, one thing just leads to another throughout a big portion of their career. They get recruited, they network, they just stay with the same company and progress it all. The market gets narrower, doesn't get any easier to find the right situation, and then it seems like all roads lead to us one way or another.
Yeah, and looking at that, Glenn, and working with your clients, it seems like, obviously both you guys have been in this for a while, but the job market's a little bit different as far as actually looking for a job. When people are submitting their resumes, um, when people are applying for jobs online, in person, whatever, many people won't even make it past a first interview. If they get an interview, the term ghosted has been being used, and not just for Tinder or Bumble, but for job seekers out there who just haven't gotten back to people. Can you speak a little bit to, Glenn, just how the actual process of applying or looking for a job is kind of shifted a little bit here?
Well, yeah. Okay. So when I started this business, as you mentioned, it's been many years. It was in the 80s. We weren't applying online for anything. It was classifieds, it was recruiters, and then there was the unpublished market, which you would get to through networking in some way or another. Well, today there's so many more ways for a company to publish an opening. uh, with the job boards and recruiter sites and employer sites. It's a lot easier for companies to find people now, but I don't think it's any easier for people to find the right companies. And then with the applicant tracking systems, which have really been around for since the 90s, we started dealing with applicant tracking systems 20 years ago, but they're so much more prevalent now. It used to be just big companies, big recruiters that had ATS. Now it's, you know, and the LinkedIn profiles are being scanned and scored by artificial intelligence also. LinkedIn has become quite the force to reckon with when it comes to any kind of professional job searching as far as social media is concerned.
And that's what's interesting too, when you mentioned a number of different employment opportunities, sectors, to where it might not even be a resume might not even make it to a person, a hiring manager, actual person. You're right. It's getting scanned out by AI or getting filtered out. So a person applying for a job, forget not being qualified. They might not even be looked at.
That's right, not by a human being. I mean, the number of people that respond to every published posting, again, the numbers just keep getting bigger. So if there's hundreds of people applying, and then it's going through a applicant tracking system, which, if you don't really know how to work the system, you're not going to come out on top in that scan. And then somebody could have the best possible qualifications, but the way their resume was put together isn't going to work
Mm.
for the applicant tracking system.
So, that this is that right there. That's a podcast in itself. How to make sure you get employed that way. Can you just briefly take us through a little bit, or just briefly explain executive career partners, how you guys kind of go about? Because again, your clientele or people who are joining up for you, they are a little bit more, I don't know if qualified, elevated in terms of experience and salary are than the general population.
Right, mostly mid to senior level managers or executives who are looking to find the right job. So the published market is a part of it. We don't leave it out, that's for sure. But anything we're pursuing online, what we're submitting is run through a certain software that we use to optimize the resume for the applicant tracking system. Most people think they just need to optimize their resume once for applicant tracking. It really needs to be optimized for each posting to be working the system. But then there are recruiters and internal staffing people out there that there's a lot more internal staffing than there are external recruiting firms. Most people don't understand this. Um, But a recruiter can mean could be a C-level person at a small company where part of their job is recruiting people into their company, like I do, or it could be a person with a title like talent officer at a large company where their job is exclusively recruiting people at a company. Or it could mean an external agency where they have a certain specific niche that they specialize in and they help, uh, they charge anywhere from 15, 20% to more like one third of the first year salary if they're a retained executive search firm for finding a person to fill a position for a company. Okay, so again, what we're doing is just the opposite. We're marketing people. So first sorting out what their best options are, what their value is, making sure they're really focused and putting the energy in the right directions. And some clients, it's straightforward. They're a CFO looking for another CFO job in manufacturing. Other clients are looking to make a change and they're not sure what they want to do. So sorting out what their best options are, then getting the right story across online and on paper with the LinkedIn profile optimization, we do a separate personal website for every client, have for since '09, um, as well as the different resumes, one specifically for applicant tracking, one that's used for everything else. And for executives, we do a bio like what a retained search firm would write on a candidate they're introducing at a high level. But then doing the research on the contacts to hit. So instead of waiting for a company to come looking for our client through a web posting or through a recruiting firm, or hoping it's going to happen through personal acquaintances of some sort, uh, identifying the organizations that would be the best for our client to want to join, and then identifying the key decision makers within those organizations and coming in with a different approach. It's being more proactive and to be at the right place at the right time, referencing insights, and it's a whole different approach than what others would take. Most people are doing a reactive approach to the job market, trying to find a posting to respond to with hundreds of others. Uh, it's more about being at the right place at the right time, the way we look at it.
Well, and that's a mindset shift that has to occur, right? Because that may have worked in the past. You go to school, you get a higher education, you get a great job, right? And maybe the way most people found their jobs in the past was exactly that, right? They had the education, they had a good resume, and all they needed to do is make the company aware. Today, with all the AIs and all the bots, people are so frustrated because they think they're doing the right thing and they know that they have the qualifications, they know what they're worth, and yet crickets, right? They hear nothing, and this can go on for months and months and months, right? And people get really, really frustrated, and they start doubting themselves. Or if they get job offers, I mean, you've seen that with the type of individuals you're dealing with. I see this all the time, where somebody knows their worth, and yet the type of offer they're getting is at a fraction of what they're accustomed to. And that's because what you're saying is they don't know how to market themselves in today's environment, right? So if they're wanting to not become part of the statistics where people, what did I read, 48% of people who are unemployed, it took them about 3 to 5 months to find a new job, and 32% indicated that it took them 6+ months. Who's got that kind of time available, right? So if they could partner with somebody like you where they know not only how to position themselves but how to better market themselves, right? I mean, I think you used the example, actors are accustomed to it, athletes are accustomed to it, right? They almost have an agent, somebody representing themselves, and yet most job seekers, they represent themselves, and what they do is they update their resume, post it, and then cross their fingers and hope for the best. Maybe somebody on LinkedIn is going to spot them or see them, but most never hear back.
That's right. There's lots of analogies, like why we go to any professional, doctor, lawyer, realtor, accountant, any other profession we go to, is to get better results than if we do it ourselves. We're professional job seekers, and most people aren't, and they don't want to become a professional job seeker. The real estate analogy is kind of odd, but I've used this many times. It's like somebody's for sale by owner, as opposed to bringing in a broker. It's like a sign at the end of a long, windy road nobody's driving by, and that's the equivalent of putting your resume up on a website and hoping somebody finds it there. Um, so we're like the analogy, continuing that, it's like bringing in Sotheby's instead of for sale by owner.
Hmm. Well, that's an interesting thing too, because you guys talk about you mentioned the time, but both of you guys, I mean, can you speak to what are some of the factors that might contribute to that the length of somebody looking for a job and why it might take longer, why it's becoming more difficult, and why it'd be more lengthy to find a job. I don't, if it's age, if it's, like T said, the income level. What are some of the things that cause that?
Glenn, do you want to take that first? I mean, I've got my perspective on it, but
Again, there's a lot. Over the years, the statistics have changed. Like they used to say, expect it to take 1 month for every 10K in compensation. That was a long time ago. Then during the dot-com era, it was, if it took more than a month and a half, there was something wrong. And then during the financial crisis recession, it was expected to take a year and a half. And now, I mean, our average time frame to placement is remarkable considering the level of clientele we're handling. But I mean, the whole idea of having us involved is to eliminate the time consumption and wheel spinning of the typical job search process and just get better results quicker. But the most important thing, you know, having job satisfaction, and half of our clients are employed people. It's not that they're unemployed necessarily. It's that maybe they're commuting too far or traveling too much, or they don't like, there's no advancement opportunities. They're not making enough. For whatever reason, they're not 100% satisfied with their current career situation and needing to take the career to the next level, and it's not happening where they are. Now, if they're unemployed, all we have to do is eliminate a couple of weeks of time consumption. We pretty much paid for ourselves. But ultimately, when our clients accept offers, they shouldn't be feeling like there could be something better. They should be feeling like they've really covered all the bases, accepting an offer because it's the right offer, not just because it's an offer. Where the average job seeker, they're not covering all the bases. They're doing a little networking, contacting a few random recruiters that they've come across in their life, and doing the online postings for the most part. I talk to people every day in high-level job searches, and that's what they're telling me they're doing. LinkedIn, Indeed, a little networking, and a handful of recruiters. And the first thing we'll do when we start working with someone is go out to at least somewhere between 500 and 1,000 recruiter and talent acquisition contacts, and that's just to get things kicked off. Then it's going to key decision makers in companies that we've identified, and for executives going to VC and private equity investors, they tend to keep an eye out for talent to bring into the companies they're investing in, as well as going to the key decision makers in the companies that have gotten funding recently. There's a lot more small companies, up and coming companies, than there are large corporations. We're hearing about what Amazon is doing or Tesla, but we're not hearing about the small to mid-sized companies that are up and coming and growing. And there's actually a lot more of those. So that's very often what we're helping our clients to focus on, the growth organizations.
And I guess the goal is to find something that's in alignment with the life that you're looking to create, right? And I think, Mike, you were talking about, why so many people dissatisfied, in their job search. What I have found on our end of the spectrum is many people are thinking a job is what they want because the current job or their previous job just didn't check all the boxes, right? It was maybe, generating the type of income they want, or maybe not, but they weren't able to live the life they were wanting to live around that, right? Since post-COVID, many people are yearning for flexibility. They just have no desire wanting to go back into the office. Or, they feel like they're working hard, but they're working on somebody else's dream, and they're looking for this job that has the opportunity to help them build wealth and equity. And as they're interviewing and as they're looking around, there's just this nagging thought that this is not quite in alignment with the life I'm looking to create. So what I love about Glenn and our organization, instead of just trying to figure out, what is the right job or what is the right business or what is the right vehicle to get there, is really taking people inward and, having them do a self-audit and checking in with what is my why. And once I have a clear vision of what my North Star is going to look like, of what I'm looking to create, now it makes sense to say, okay, how does the job market fit in there? Are those jobs out there that can check those boxes for me? What other vehicles are out there? Just the other day, I heard somebody say this great saying, I don't think I'll ever forget it. They said, I realized that I spent the first half of my life making a living. Now I want to spend the next half of my life making a difference. So I think a lot of people are out there looking for purpose. And can the job market do it? For some, absolutely yes. For others, maybe the job market is no longer going to be able to scratch that itch. But either way, I think you never have to think that you need to figure it out all by yourself. There's so many resources out there, right? Glenn and us refer people back and forth to each other all the time because many people that we work with, right, say that, you know what, no, I really don't think that I want to do something by myself. So we say, you know what, I think maybe connect with somebody like Glenn and executive career partners, because if the job market is really what you think is going to scratch that itch, these guys can really help you position yourself for that, right? And for Glenn on that side, I know that you'd be open if somebody says, you know what, I've been looking at the job market, but I think it's time for me to do something for myself, right? What a great way to refer people back and forth. So again, don't think you need to figure it out by yourself. There are resources out there and people who can help you think about your thinking so that you can make the best choice for yourself and your family.
T, can you kind of expand upon that when we're talking about some of the, you mentioned obviously the partnership between TES and executive career partners, but as far as some of the tactics in looking for a new job, because you're right, I don't know if people really realize just how many different avenues there are out there, or what they, like you mentioned, not just
Yeah.
looking for something for one reason, but what are different reasons to be looking for something or how to go about it.
Well, I think first and foremost, trust your gut, right? If you feel there must be more to life and the current life I'm living is just not quite it, you're probably living in a 1.0 version of you. And there is a potential to get to a 2.0. So if you've got that nagging feeling, I mean, gosh, you just set me up to shamelessly
You mean
promote
like
our
your
book.
career revolution 2.0?
Right? Why
Nice.
not take some time and think about your thinking? Why not pick up a copy, read it over a weekend, or download the Audible, listen to it, and just it's a great way to stimulate your thinking, right? Maybe listen to some of these podcasts, listen to a few of them, right? But I think at some point in time, it's good to educate yourself, but then you need to start taking action. And it doesn't need to be massive action, it could just be a conversation. I know that any of our career coaches, career ownership coaches, would be happy to, at the very least, have that conversation. I know Glenn and his organization would be open to have at least a conversation. And maybe that is the spark you need, or the little bit of confidence that, oh my gosh, do you know what? Maybe remember that book, Who Moved My Cheese? Maybe somebody moved your cheese and you're going down the wrong tunnel, right? So you've got nothing to lose by at the very least exploring and having a conversation about what could be possible. What do you say, Glenn?
Well, yeah, we'll spend hours with the prospective client just to explore the possibilities. We're happy to spend time with anyone we feel could be a good candidate, just to or give them feedback on the resume that they've got and discuss how we might be able to help or not. If they're someone who's really interested in something more independent, entrepreneurial, refer them to the entrepreneur source. But um, there's quite an assessment of marketability and consultation that we go through with any prospective client to determine whether there's a good fit or not.
Right, and no
And
obligation, right? It's just
Yeah.
exploratory. Let's just discover, right? So if anybody listening to this thinks, I don't want to waste anybody's time, do you know what? It's never a waste of time. If you're willing to invest in yourself, we are willing to invest in you. And we have yet to meet a case that's hopeless. Nobody's hopeless. We all have something. And I think what we all have in common is that desire to want to create and live a better life. So you guys would be in good company if you reached out and at least just had that conversation.
and Glenn, as we kind of wind things down here a little bit, we talked a little bit earlier about, again, the job market, and maybe it's the numbers, maybe it's inflation. We're in an election year. There are any number of things that I think people will grasp onto, right, and say, "Oh, this isn't a good time to look," or "The job market's terrible." But I was wondering if you're able to, and you mentioned it a few minutes ago. Just you look at Amazon and some of these big companies, and if Amazon's listening, I like you guys. It's fine. I appreciate the delivery. But there are mid-level startups, there are startup businesses, there are franchises. Can you offer any insight or any feedback that you might have seen as far as the future of the job market?
Well,
Is that a loaded
uh,
question?
the future of the job market. Again, I think it's just getting more automated all the time as far as the larger companies and how they're going about finding people. Smaller companies, it is different. Again, uh, the first choice of any company looking to fill any position is really going to be to promote someone or transfer someone, or somebody just knows someone who can fill the position. Uh,
The
Thus,
old, it's
why
not what you know, it's who you know, right?
pretty much everybody else in our field, it's all about networking. And I mean, networking is a part of any job search. There's lots of ways to network. We try to use every one of them. It's not really the most scientific way. I mean, it can be great if you have friends in the right places. It's just a lot of opportunities could elude someone if all they're doing is networking too. So, um, covering the published market thoroughly, the recruiter channel, but then again, where a lot of our best results come from, we identify the organizations, we identify the key decision makers within those organizations that would be the best, and then referencing insights from articles. Okay, so uh, if a company has announced a new product or a new division or a new facility, or maybe they're getting venture capital or relocating, or it could be acquisitions, or you can get two angles out of one executive change, like where this person left, a position came open, they're probably going to fill from within. That would have opened their position there. But where this person went, new key decision makers usually bring in some new talent to build the new winning team. It's using that kind of information to be at the right place at the right time and tap into opportunities as they're emerging instead of waiting for them to come looking for you. So it's just being more proactive, more aggressive, more um, creative about how to go about working the system out there. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what the future has in store. I'm sure the AI is artificial intelligence is integrating itself into every aspect of our lives as we speak. Um, I mean, using Chat GPT to write your resume, I don't know about that, but probably be using artificial intelligence to find people more and more for companies at all sizes.
Yeah. Well, Glenn Scott, Executive Career Partners, how can people reach out to you? How do they find you?
Well, if they're already in touch with one of the coaches at the Entrepreneur Source, they can just get referred that way, or they can go to our homepage, ecp-careers.com, and click Start Now, something like that would be a good way.
Fantastic. T, any closing thoughts here?
Absolutely. So, if you're listening right now and you think there has to be a better way, there absolutely is, right? I would say reach out. Nothing is impossible. I know it sounds like a scary world and there's a lot happening out there, but boy, from my vantage point and from Glenn's vantage point, there's so many possibilities and so many options out there. So never, never, never give up on your dream, and have the courage to maybe just have one conversation or pick up a book or think about your thinking. We are ready to help.
Awesome. I like my job and I'm inspired already. So no, I'm just we're good here. That was excellent. I appreciate the insight. I'd like to thank our guest here for joining us, Glenn Scott with Executive Career Partners. Thank you so much for being with us, and for Tamara Loring, the Chief of Brand Ideology for the Entrepreneur Source. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Mike Toper, and have a good one. Thank you.